After not seeing him for a month, Adam just thrust a divorce lawyer's business card at me without even asking, "Are you okay or how are you feeling divorcing a wife who doesn't work? Pay me $1,000 a month as alimony." Sounds good. Take care, Adam chuckled as he said this. Standing beside him, Rachel wrapped her arm around his, wearing a similar smug expression. "Fine, let's divorce then," I said it so casually that Adam seemed a bit surprised, but he quickly shared his smile with Rachel. Good thing Adam isn't much of a thinker, it makes my plan easier to execute. After the divorce papers got approved, I decided to start my revenge plan on both of them. I will make them cry as a celebration of my recovery. My name is Lydia Hayes. I'm a 47-year-old illustrator and also work as a children's book author. I just love drawing. I have two childhood friends, Adam and Rachel. They're important friends to me, and Adam is also my husband. It all started when Adam asked me out as I was heading to a different college after high school. I was surprised, I thought he was into Rachel, but I couldn't say no to a confession from Adam, whom I had secretly liked. After some thought and consultation with Rachel, I accepted Adam's proposal. Rachel's behavior had been a bit problematic since our teens, but she was still a dear friend to both Adam and me. However, Rachel had a tendency to snatch other people's boyfriends and then dump them once they became obsessed with her, causing problems time and again. Her parents were concerned, so Adam and I often spent time with her to watch over her. Adam and I got married when we were 25. 4 years later, Rachel brought her fiancé into our lives. His name was George, a professional working for a top-tier company. Nice to meet you, Lydia and Adam. I've heard so much about you. Looking forward to our future together, George was very polite, and we all got along immediately. We would get together during holidays and vacations, taking trips or going on long train rides to enjoy some drinks. However, things started falling apart after Rachel got pregnant 2 years into her marriage. Adam and I originally had many siblings, so there was no worry about it. Hence, we decided we didn't need children. Both of us loved kids but weren't keen on actively caring for them. Besides, we loved our freedom to travel and enjoy drinks. We often found it heartwarming to see families with children, but it was never more or less than that. When Rachel announced her pregnancy, Adam's attitude started to change. He quit smoking because Rachel said she couldn't stand the smell and even offered to drive her to doctor's appointments using his vacation days. I warned him, "George might get upset if you're always with Rachel," but Adam argued back, "You have work, don't you? She's our childhood friend and she's reaching out for help, you're heartless." I said, "I've been buying things and helping where I can, but going with her to the obstetrician is crossing the line." When I said that, Adam frowned and then he glared at me. "Why? Because Rachel wants it, right? She says she's anxious about the checkup. I can't just let her go alone. If she's anxious, all the more reason for George to go with her, right? If you go with her every time, it's almost like you're the father of the baby in her belly." Adam, jealous you're not going to get pregnant anyway, so what's the problem? He didn't take my concerns seriously and instead started to snap, saying I was being annoying. We had hardly ever had a fight during our marriage, but things changed when Rachel got pregnant. Our arguments increased, and that didn't change even after Rachel gave birth. In fact, Adam started spending even more time with Rachel and their child, Hannah. But when Hannah was 6, an incident occurred. It had to do with the attendees of Hannah's graduation ceremonies. The day before the graduation, Adam suddenly started rummaging through the closet. "Adam, what are you doing? Have a meeting tomorrow." Adam's workplace had a casual dress code, but there was a rule to wear a suit during client meetings, so he always kept a few suits ready, but they were all thrown on the bed now. Ah, no, just trying to decide what to wear for the graduation ceremony. What, you're seriously thinking of attending the graduation yet? George can't make it. Rachel asked me. Wait, that's absurd no matter how you look at it. I inadvertently raised my voice in denial. Immediately, Adam's face turned sour. I knew he occasionally picked Hannah up from kindergarten, and I had done so myself when asked, yet it was nonsensical for a childhood friend who wasn't even a biological parent to attend a graduation ceremony. What? You still doubt me and Rachel? I'm disappointed that you can't even help out. That's not the point. Anyway, I'm attending the graduation tomorrow, so iron a shirt properly. Adam said that and abruptly ended the conversation, leaving me behind and going to the bedroom. I had no choice but to call Rachel. Hello, Rachel, about tomorrow. Ah, sorry about tomorrow. I'm borrowing Adam. But won't George be upset about the graduation attendance? Lydia, what are you talking about? Obviously, I haven't told George that the graduation is tomorrow. I'll tell him after the ceremony. I was shocked to learn that George didn't know about the graduation schedule. Upon further questioning, it seemed that Rachel hadn't informed George about any of the kindergarten events so far, and Adam had been acting as the father at the kindergarten, which made me dizzy with its selfishness. Wait a minute, Rachel, isn't that extremely unreasonable? It's disrespectful to George, and just because he's a childhood friend, what's wrong? Lydia, you're scary. Well, see you tomorrow. Wait, Rachel. I was trembling with anger at Rachel, who unilaterally hung up the phone. Still, in the end, I ironed a shirt, prepared a tie, and the next morning saw Adam off to Hannah's graduation ceremony. Since then, Rachel and Adam started going out more frequently, from once a month to once a week and then to 3 times a week. Eventually, even George seemed to have some suspicions, and one day while Adam and Rachel were out, he visited our house alone. I'm sorry for visiting you late at night. There's something that's been bothering me. Is it about the two of them? Yes. I would like you to take a look at this. George showed me the GPS history he had installed in Rachel's car. It showed that she had been staying at a hotel 3 times a week. All of those days she was out with Adam, and just by looking at George's face, I understood what that meant. What do you want to do, George? The first want to take revenge on those two. Me too. I can't forgive them for betraying us after all this time. We started planning our revenge on them secretly. First, I started by increasing my income because I had been saving by doing housework and taking care of Hannah. My income had drastically decreased. George switched to working from home, and when Rachel and Adam would go out, he would bring Hannah to my house, and we would take care of her together. Neither Rachel nor Adam realized that we knew about the relationship, and we were able to gather solid evidence. Once we had collected enough evidence and were ready to take our revenge, we discovered a shocking truth about Hannah. George and I struggled with the decision, but we both agreed that we didn't want to hurt young Hannah, so we decided to wait until she was an adult to take our revenge. However, even though we decided to endure for 10 years, I was struck with a serious illness. I needed long-term hospitalization, and even at best, I wouldn't be discharged for at least 2 years. Although I could work from the hospital room, it was certain that I would have to reduce my workload. After informing George about the situation, I consulted Adam. However, Adam's reaction was no different from when we were making small talk. I'll visit you once in a while. I felt that Adam no longer had any affection for me, as he didn't even ask about my condition or the name of the disease. In reality, Adam only visited once a month or once every 2 months. And after Hannah's 15th birthday, she started acting strangely. Although she used to visit me almost every day right after I was hospitalized, she became distant after her 15th birthday. However, neither George nor I could figure out why, and we were puzzled. Even when we asked Hannah, she just said, "Don't worry about it." However, we ended up learning the reason from Adam, who rarely showed up. "Hey, it's been a while." "Yeah, it has." Adam, who had completely transformed into a flashy appearance, walked in without even knocking. After not seeing him for a month, Adam just thrust a divorce lawyer's business card at me without even asking, "Are you okay or how are you feeling divorcing a wife who doesn't work? Pay me $1,000 a month as alimony." "That's the deal, so take care," Adam said, grinning from ear to ear. Beside him, Rachel wrapped her arms around Adam's with a similar expression on her face. "Fine, let's divorce then," I casually agreed, which seemed to surprise Adam for a moment, but he quickly exchanged smiles with Rachel. It was good that Adam wasn't the type to think too deeply, that's why my plan worked so well. After receiving a notification that the divorce was finalized from Adam, I decided to start my revenge plan against the two of them. I will make them cry as a celebration of my recovery. I promptly started to take action. First, I contacted George to transfer hospitals, then I informed my lawyer that they would be mediating between the two parties from now on. George also began to act. At the same time, he moved near my new hospital with Hannah, and he started to visit me frequently. Hannah still had a gloomy expression, but I was happy that she came to see me every day. Most of my belongings were already in the hospital room, so I told Adam to dispose of the rest. I didn't want to bring anything that the two of them might have touched into my new life. Once the hospital transfer and George and Hannah's move settled down, I received a call from Adam. I had only left my seat for a few minutes, but my smartphone already showed 30 missed calls. I answered the phone, feeling exasperated. What the hell is going on?" I could hear the voice of a troubled real estate agent behind Adam's panicked voice. I also heard Rachel yelling, which made me feel sick. "What do you mean? What's going on? It's obviously about the house. Why do we have to move out?" Adam shouted at me as if it wasn't his fault at all. I replied to him coolly, "Obviously, because that's my house." Adam seemed to have completely forgotten, but the truth was, the house we lived in was a room I rented as a workspace when I started to make a living as a freelancer. At that time, I didn't have enough income to maintain two houses, and Adam didn't have enough income to live alone, so he ended up moving into my place. Therefore, Adam had never paid the rent or utility bills for that room. Although I received some money from him for living expenses, it wasn't enough to maintain the place. Unfortunately, that room was already cancelled. It was far from the hospital I transferred to, so I had processed the cancellation the day after submitting the divorce papers. I didn't inform him because the real estate agent who knew the situation said they would contact him. George and Hannah suddenly disappeared, and our house was sold. What are we going to do about our new house? I don't know. Maybe stay in a business hotel for now. As I turned on the speaker and started working, Adam yelled in frustration, "Don't screw with me." However, he seemed to remember something and started speaking in a more soothing tone. "Well, whatever. When will you transfer the money? We're running low on cash." "What are you talking about? Don't mess around. I told you to pay 11,000, didn't I? Oh, I don't recall agreeing to that." My nonchalant response was met with incoherent screaming from Adam on the other end of the phone. Apparently, he thought he could get money from me and had been squandering it. Even if he had 11,000 left, how did he plan to get by for the rest of the month? Hey, don't just stay silent. Say something. There's really nothing to talk about. My retort left Adam momentarily dumbfounded, but he soon started yelling again, growing increasingly annoyed. I addressed Adam in as cheerful a tone as I could muster. Anyway, we're basically strangers now, so please don't contact me anymore. You'll hear from my lawyer. Hey lawyer, hey, wait a minute. I hung up without listening to Adam's response. He tried calling back several times, but I ignored it, and eventually, the calls stopped. However, angry that I didn't answer, Adam started ignoring calls from my lawyer. He certainly had a childish side, but I never imagined he'd be the kind of person who didn't mind causing trouble for others. I sighed deeply at Adam's selfishness. A few months later, after a temporary discharge from the hospital, I visited Adam's parents' house. In front of me were Adam and Rachel, both looking small and trembling. You telling my parents is a low blow. Oh, I just reported that we got divorced. Adam glared at me in response to my answer, but he shrank back under his father's stern gaze. Actually, I had a great relationship with my in-laws, even visiting and dining with them when Adam wasn't around. Despite being so well loved, I felt it was wrong not to share the details of our divorce, so I went to visit them. Is it true that you're remarrying Rachel? Yes, it's true. Hannah and I are going to start over as a family. What are you talking about? Your only family is Lydia. She's not my family anymore. Adam's words made his father frown with a look that seemed to say, give me a break. Adam shook his head a few times, then handed me a piece of paper. It was a bill from a nearby luxury hotel. What's this? It's the bill from the hotel we stayed at. Adam, acting as if it was obvious, pointed at the bill on the table, then suddenly collapsed. Oh, what the heck, Mom? I didn't raise you to be like this. My mother-in-law, gasping for breath, was met with a look of disbelief from Adam. Next to him, Rachel wore the same expression. Why are you so angry? It's just that the family is changing because I'm getting married. Plus, you'll have a grandchild, a blood-related one at that. Aren't you happy you two didn't? My mother-in-law, looking as if she couldn't believe what she was seeing, glanced at me, then turned her gaze to me. Both my in-laws understood that I didn't want children and still treated me as their own daughter. Of course, they treated Rachel, my childhood friend, similarly, but there was always a boundary between a daughter-in-law and a friend. I remembered Rachel often complaining about that, so I was certain my mother-in-law wouldn't be happy about this situation, and Rachel should have known it too. You do want Hannah, right? It'll be your grandchild, so you'll be happy, right? It's because she's a child I've known since she was little. Oh, but half of her blood is from Adam, right? Even after all this, Rachel, showing no sign of remorse and acting as if she couldn't understand the problem, gave me goosebumps. At that moment, someone who had been silent until now spoke up. Enough already. It's disgusting. Hannah, who had been playing with her smartphone in the corner of the room, spoke to Rachel without looking up. The room fell into a stunned silence. My dad is the only one I consider my father. Whether we're related by blood or not, he's the only one. But you know, Adam has always been the one to attend your school events. I heard everything from Dad, how he was always informed of the event dates after they were over, how eventually even the events themselves were kept from him. But Dad always said I was his daughter, so I am his daughter, and I will never be yours. Hannah glared at Rachel as she said this. Then, sitting beside me, she switched to a more concerned tone. You know, when I found out about this, I thought you would hate me. But Dad said that wasn't the case, so I came here today. Hannah, I love you so much. You were so kind to visit me every day while I was in the hospital. I was really happy. Lydia. Hannah, perhaps relieved of her anxiety, teared up and hugged me tightly. It might indeed be a child resulting from an affair between Adam and Rachel, yet it's a child I've taken care of for 15 years. There's no way I don't have affection for her. Speaking of which, Rachel, weren't you curious why I wasn't surprised when I found out Hannah is Adam's daughter? Rachel looked startled. Before she could speak, a new person entered the room. We knew from the start, 10 years ago actually. George suddenly appeared. Understandably so, as she had recently unilaterally demanded a divorce, citing irreconcilable differences. I was shocked when you mentioned divorce. Oh, and unfortunately, you're not divorced yet. The divorce papers are still here. Didn't you notice what I figured? It wasn't in Rachel and Adam's nature to confirm things, but I couldn't help but be stunned that Rachel, despite the 100-day waiting period for women to remarry, had noticed for months. So, Rachel is still my wife, and Hannah is still my daughter. Well, since there won't be a wife though. Wait, what do you mean a 15-year-old can choose their parent? That's not true. Hannah wants to be with Mom, right? Rachel said that and looked at Hannah. Hannah frowned at Rachel and held my hand. Rachel was speechless at that and glared at me. Then Adam suddenly burst into laughter. So that's what it is. You two are together, but too bad, isn't it impossible to live on George's salary alone? Can you stop making weird assumptions? Also, it seems George earns double the amount you think. Rachel knows about it. It's probably a bluff. Besides, it's impossible for you to work while dealing with your illness. You'll just die miserably somewhere. This time, I laughed at Adam's huge misunderstanding. Adam, seeing me suddenly start laughing, was getting frustrated. You didn't know about my income, did you? It's probably just a bit more than a part-time job. No, it's different. My annual income is $500,000. Adam's eyes and mouth were wide open in shock. Rachel was also stunned. In fact, over the past 10 years, I have become a popular children's book author, and my income had skyrocketed from essays, interviews, and alike. Moreover, a film adaptation is planned soon, so my income is skyrocketing. Liar. Oh, do you want to see this? I said that and showed Rachel my bank account screen. It clearly showed a large amount of money being deposited every month. Rachel was at a loss for words when she saw it. Lydia, let's, make up. What are you saying? Rachel was furious at Adam's words, blinded by the money. I watched them blankly and then opened my mouth. Well, if you want to get married, feel free. Oh, and I'll definitely take the compensation for damages. Lydia, wait. Lydia. Ignoring Adam's words, I took Hannah's hand, and after saying goodbye to my in-laws, I left their house. Adam originally worked at my father-in-law's company, but it was revealed that he was lying about going out for sales, and he was fired. My father-in-law planned to forcibly put him on a friend's fishing boat and work him to the bone. Working on a fishing boat was tough for an indoor-loving Adam, and he contacted me several times, but each time I notified my father-in-law, and eventually, the calls stopped. Rachel lost custody to George and got divorced. She seemed uninterested in Adam, who couldn't afford luxuries, and didn't seem to chase after him. She was disowned by her family and lived alone in a rundown apartment. She hadn't worked at all since getting married, and since she had always made others do things for her, she couldn't do anything herself, and there were hardly any places that would hire her as a full-time employee. Still, she had to pay for her living expenses and child support, so she worked multiple part-time jobs and barely made ends meet. After entering high school, Hannah worked hard every day to study abroad and go to a prestigious university overseas. Being originally diligent, her dream is to translate my picture books and deliver them to children all over the world, which makes me happy. As for me, my picture books are selling well, and I am receiving more and more offers for animation adaptations and merchandise. My illness is also progressing well, and although I am still hospitalist, my doctor recently told me that I might be able to leave the hospital next year. And one more thing, George and Hannah come to visit me every day. Actually, George recently confessed to me with remarriage in mind. I haven't given my answer yet, but I can't help but have feelings for him. He said he wants to live together when I leave the hospital. While thinking about what to answer, I work on my picture books every day, hoping for a happy future for us. I weave stories again today.